What is up, everybody? CP and SJ with you here for another week of Every Day We're Covering, where we talk the world of sports, wagering, and just having a good time. And we are into the CFP Championship now here for the 2025-26 college football season. SJ, we're rolling right along here. Of course, unfortunately, the season's coming to an end. We do have the NFL playoffs that got started here this weekend, so that's been a nice little appetizer there as well to keep us football fans rolling. But we're down to the bitter end here for college football.
And there's that dreaded extended break here too. You're gonna forget about the game by the time it rolls around again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always fun. But I mean, I get it. You want to have ample time to repair. I just think maybe they could have done it next weekend, but whatever. It is what it is. Monday night's always an amazing viewing night for NCAA, obviously, because they've done that with the Final Four. How many times, played the championship on Monday night? Apparently there's some kind of good return on investment there. So we'll stick with it. But I mean, it should be an interesting matchup. It's kind of hard to pick against Indiana at this point, but then again, we've seen crazy things happen, and especially in this sport. But we'll get more into that as it gets closer. But it should be hey, at least we have some different teams in there for a change, and maybe maybe get something crazy to happen. Who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely a different mix of what I guess what people would have expected for sure. We know that Indiana, obviously, a very much newcomer to the scene and upstart, and had a lot of doubters along the way. I guess kind of rightfully so, the way that we think when we analyze this stuff. Of course, Miami's been there, but not as of recently. This is kind of a little bit of a turnaround for them as well. And now there are some cool storylines, I guess, too, along with this. Aside from just being some different teams, it is funny how this always works out one way or another. You've got a team playing on their home field for the national championship. You've got a quarterback for one team that's going back to his hometown on the opposing side to play the game. It's just there's always some bizarre wrinkle that gets in there storyline-wise.
Well, and wasn't also Mendoza's dad was like high school teammates with,
Cristobal.
So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
What the hell? Like, they just almost like, are you making this shit up? Because I mean, I guess it's just that's how small the world is when you break it down, whatever. And there's a lot of people involved, but it does seem you're right. Like every year, there's something kind of wacky where you'd be like, how does this even happen? But here we are again, another crazy storyline, and I guess there'll be those days I talked about. Of leading up to the game, plenty to talk about that. I'm sure that'll be mentioned a time or two.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt it'll be mentioned plenty. I'm sure by the powers that be with the broadcast and leading up to it and all that. But yeah, it is always cool. And of course, there'll probably be a couple more little wrinkles in there as well that we don't know about immediately or aren't aware of that they work on, of course, with their prep leading up to things. But yeah, pretty unique right off the bat with those stories right there to get this thing going. So it should be fun, and hopefully we'll get an interesting game at the end of the day to wrap up the season. As we get rolling here on the podcast, we always like to talk about what's fueling us along the way as far as some beverages to enjoy while we're enjoying the games. We'll get more on that here in a moment. Somebody else apparently likes to enjoy the beverages too at a different time. But what do you got pouring over there this week, SJ?
Well, it's something a little different, but I guess a usual suspect, if you will. Went back to in North Kansas City. They're my friends at Cinder Block. Mentioned them a time or two. That's obviously by historical reference from this show, and just also as many times I bring it up, that's got to be my top, one of my top 2 or 3 places I like to get from that's local. But they did of course, pretty typical, the coffee milk stout. It's not that it's not out of the I guess out of the realms of like something that's way out in left field or anything, but I just wanted try their version. I hadn't had it, and this one is Vietnamese inspired, but in some way. I'm trying to read the label and decide how. So I'll take their word for it though. But it's a ale. It's of course brewed with coffee and milk lactose. That doesn't sound that tasty, but it does taste pretty decent though. And 6%, got a little kick to it. Not too what do you want to call it? There's not much of a a bitterness to it. Obviously, you wouldn't expect, but sometimes you never know with these I guess small batch and variety. Sometimes you think you like a kind of beer and you try it and you're like, oh, that tastes different than what I thought, just because of what's the ingredients and different styles and stuff. And this one is pretty standard coffee milk stout, but definitely a smooth drink. So figured I couldn't go wrong with Cinder Block's version of it.
All right, yeah, sounds tasty. I like those. I'm not gonna shy away from usually a coffee inspired beer. Usually,
I was close. I almost pulled the trigger on a nitro milk stout that was it was like a candy cane one that someone had made, but I figured it was, fortunately we're past all the holiday fun and getting back to like regular work schedules, and I think it was like a 11 some percent, almost 12%. I was like, we better chill out here tonight. But I really wanted to. I was like, I thought about it. You kind of stand in front of the door there, or the whatever, the rack, and you're like, should I do it? And I thought for a little bit. I decided better against it, but probably will. Maybe I see it next time. Maybe on a Friday night.
Yeah, there you go. Get not a return to work beer. I'm going with one that's a little bit different too. I was looking back through the last few weeks to make sure that I hadn't mentioned this one before. I don't think that I have. So if I have, don't shoot the messenger. But this is. I've been picking up a few random kind of different ones during the holiday run, like everybody I think tries to do a little bit if you explore different beers, and this is one that I was not like unfamiliar with the base beer that it's made out of, but it's kind of a little different spin on it. So the folks at Exile Brewing Company, which is based out of Des Moines, they have one of their beers that they've gotten pretty good recognition with is called the GG Dunkel. So it's, a darker kind of malty style beer. But they took that and then put some different stuff in it here for the holiday season. And it kind of works in with the state of Iowa theme, I guess, because we're very much into the state fair here in Iowa. And one of the stands that's very popular is the old hot mini donuts. So this is the mini donut Dunkel. So they took the kind of inspiration of the mini donut flavor and then infused it into the GG Dunkel, and it's a pretty good beer. It's interesting. Like you definitely get that different kind of like the cinnamon sugar flavor it's going on that you expect with those mini donuts, and then working with the malt, it almost kind of gets that a little extra caramelization taste going on with it as well. Pretty good beer. It's 5%, so it's got, it's just pretty normal, pretty average kick to it. But yeah, a good one to mix things up, and I can appreciate their creativity, I guess, with this one.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you gotta admire the creativity at the least of it, just those ideas that come in, and if you're able to execute it somewhat close enough, and of course you're never going to get can you imagine though if it tasted exactly like those donuts? Oh man, you'd be in trouble.
I know, I've been drinking 25 of them. It's like you get the bag, and there's like 30 of them, and they're gone in like 2 minutes. Like
there's been a hole in that thing. Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah, it's funny the first time that we. Of course, I hadn't gone for a long time, but when I went back on kind of our regular schedule of going to the state fair, since we're closer to it now too, where we live, we went up to the stand, because I had another coworker that talked about, I always go to the mini donut thing, and that's one of the first stops right away, So I was like, all right, let's go hit up the mini donut stand. Well, you get the you're weighing your options at the window because they got like the large, the medium, the small. You're like, we really don't need, we'll just get the small or whatever, and then you eat it in 30 seconds, and you're like, man, I needed the large. Like 60 some, 70 some mini donuts sounds like a lot, but man, you can put them away. That's no problem. So yeah, it's a fun beer. And they've got the can kind of, pays homage to it too, because they've got the little sky lift, in the background, and kind of the fair backdrop going on. So pretty cool. Nice little mix up beer. So if you get a chance to try that one, I'd recommend giving it a whirl. All right, let's dive here into the games here, the CFP Semifinals. We'll talk, of course, about a little bit of some other stuff going on too, but this will be the main focus. We had 2 games, Thursday and Friday night there at the semis, and unfortunately, as far as like an average spectator goes, probably not what you wanted out of these 2 games, because they weren't all that entertaining. Now, the Miami Ole Miss game did come down to the wire as far as who was going to win the game, but it took it a little while to get cooking. It just felt like it was kind of a, teams feeling each other out, plodding along a little bit there early. A lot of mistakes, I thought, by both teams too. Just not crisp execution. Got better at the end, and that was fun to watch at the end. But yeah, overall as a game, kind of in the middle of the road there, I guess, is my thought.
Yeah, it wasn't until the fourth quarter it really got things kind of got going back and forth and started making some plays. That to me, that's almost been the story of this playoff. It's not always going to be like that, so I'm not saying, oh, I screwed the playoff, but they've been a little bit as far as from start to finish. You haven't had a lot of great games. There's been a couple here and there, but overall, I don't know if it's just the unfamiliar matchups that where teams have to travel and then they don't, or they do, double the travel than some other teams, or obviously the buys. That's been a big deal because we've seen, the teams that have gotten those haven't had much success. But as far as this game, it ended up being kind of, a little bit of I guess a pretty entertaining finish and came down to the wire there a little bit. But yeah, I wouldn't say it was like, oh man, this was a great game. But if you're on the winning side of it, best game of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Miami fans don't care. They won. They're in the championship. That's all that matters. And yeah, the very end was exciting. You get down there and, Carson Beck ends up being able to run that one in. Crowd's going wild, one last, heave chance there for Ole Miss at the end and couldn't get it done. But it was, yeah, I mean, I guess the one of the things I came away from the game, and I didn't watch it, like, I'll admit, like really, really closely, intently the whole time, but there were plenty of opportunities, it seemed like, for that Miami defense to make this not a game, and they just didn't take advantage of it. I mean, they dropped how many interception opportunities in that game?
Well, and it's not like it's a team that's kind of how they made a lot of their success this season is as off turnovers and takeaways. So it's not a defense where it's like, they don't get many turnovers. It's a surprise. And a lot of them were still deflections, but at the same time, it's right in your hands. You kind of got to make those plays. And you're watching the game. You're like, crap, that's going to come back to, screw them or it's going to haunt them later on. It did. I mean, I guess it kept it close. So that part of it kind of factored in, but it didn't really, bite them in the ass the way it could have, you would think, because some of those, it's like, you catch that, you might be going for 6 the other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then how about at the end that you mentioned, just the visual was just crazy with him running into the fan zone and everyone going freaking nuts. And then of course, the guy we mentioned before, the famous alum, was just going fucking buck wild. And I guess they were showing this cameraman, he just screwed up his shot, and I was like, well, I mean, what are you gonna do? I don't know. And even if they had security down there, someone to get him out of there, he ain't listening. So,
no, that's what you get with
that. It's just a weird situation, but. Yeah, I mean, and then to me, I guess this is just maybe you're just trying to get some controversies, spice it up a little bit. But the talk of no pass interference calling that Hail Mary, it's like, you're not gonna call no damn pass interference on a Hail Mary.
No.
I know it wasn't like your traditional 60-yard Hail Mary. They were a little bit closer, where like around the 30, 35, something like that. Mm-hmm. But that was just come on, a little ridiculous, like trying to get some I guess juice it up for the ratings there, make some controversy that didn't exist. That to me, that was a little ridiculous, even for an ESPN type of brand.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I get it if it's something that's like patently obvious, like if it's blatant, like somebody just goes and tackles a dude or something, like, yeah, you have to call that. But outside of that, the officials are not going to do that. They don't want to be. And rightfully so. They don't want to be the story. They don't want to be what decides the game. They want the players to go do it. And, sometimes that's part of it. The guys, fighting each other to go, get a ball kind of thing. It happens. And like you said, especially in that moment, it's hard for you to say that they should call something that, is, I guess, a little bit of more of a judgment type of call, because then you're opening the door to both sides arguing, well, this shouldn't have been, should have been. So yeah, I think they did the right thing and didn't throw a flag there. And that's the way you would expect the game to end in a situation like that, for sure.
Well, and then a Hail Mary, I mean, it's like as 50-50 as it gets on top of everything. So that's, I don't know, I guess to me, it seemed like, you get around the table with 17 people and McAfee and all those guys are just, someone's trying to be the, I got to get the headlines for tomorrow. What are they going to talk about on Twitter? And that was, to me, that's more of a thing. But the game itself, it was okay. It just wasn't, what wasn't anything that would be like, oh, I need to go watch that again. And then the next game the day later was even worse.
Yeah. So you have that.
At least these teams did a better job of keeping your attention for at least a quarter.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, at least it was undecided until the very end. That's one thing. I will say it was interesting. You got all the shots there on that last run that you kind of mentioned there with Beck running it in, and maybe that's the one redeeming thing about that concept. They of course had the alternate broadcast with the guys down on the field, doing that. And most of the time it's like, what is this? What does it bring me that I'm not getting by just watching the game? I don't know. I'm not, maybe different generations feel differently and think differently, but it's just not something that appeals to me. But getting that little extra shot, like when it was a clip, like, oh, we're going to go, these guys were here and see this in the moment. That's a little bit different. That added maybe a little bit of, just because you're so close, you get to understand like what it sounded like, what it felt like there in the moment. And that's cool. Outside of that though, yeah, then I don't see the value, but maybe that's, I guess what I'm thinking is maybe you have situations like that where there are people there, but then you're injecting them in those certain special moments just to get that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the camera angles, you can never have enough of those, I don't think. And so that's where I guess that's the benefit of that. So you have you can justify having, 80 whatever cameras that they have, or hundreds, who knows how many with these big games, might be even more. So, and then you give a place to, we're actually at least using these and not just like, they're not all dummy cameras. So, and as far, I'm kind of with you on the other thing. And I don't even know if it would matter who's the one, like, what do you call it, like leading it, the main guy for these. So I don't think that even matters to me. It's just like, I kind of want to know what's going on in the game. To me, that's like some more of like a general watcher where you're like, I don't really care what happens. I'm just going to kind of find something that's like to have fun with it or whatever. Like, I guess if you don't care about the outcome or you're not like wanting to watch like a competitive game, then maybe. But to me, it seems like most people that are going to tune into that or want to watch it are like, I want to know what happens in the game, and I want to just watch the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, it'd be the opposite way. You probably get more if you go less, less audio and more visual than you would the other way. Because sometimes on those, like, they're just grabbing any dude, like, oh, that's my friend, this is my cousin, this is my buddy. Like, let's just all start, and then you're like, there's only so much time between plays to talk, especially when in certain situations. So you just got everybody like yapping on the mic and cutting each other off. And even with some of those sets where, I make mention of it often, it's like there's 3 to 4 max. I mean, even 4 sometimes is too much. And then it's just like, what on game day, especially, it's like some guy says something and everyone's just like, just yucking up in the background. Just like, can he do anything besides chuckle, Howard? Like, seriously, that's all he freaking does. Like, I don't know what, especially with the way Michigan sports situation there in these days, I don't know how he could have any, goodwill in the world. But somebody likes him there, I guess. But it's just annoying. It's like, this literally adds nothing to anything. Just people watch it though.
Yeah.
I mean, even with like with the Manning cast and those things, like, that's fine if you like it. I'm not saying don't watch it. It's like, I guess it doesn't. I don't understand. I've never even tried to watch it because I'm like, I just want to watch the game. I don't really. If I want to know what someone says, it's probably someone in my phone that I'll text, or might be watching with them, and we can. And some dude I never met that has a long neck. I don't care what he thinks.
Yeah. That the only thing I can think of with that particular situation is if you are just seriously a very casual NFL fan, like you just, the games you really could care less about, but you kind of like the interesting insight of somebody that played it. And of course, then they bring on, other people that are maybe
that's the problem. It's like, if they were just like talking, like breaking it down, like, I think it'd be, because even Gruden, I've never been like a huge fan of his, but he would just do those like little film breakdowns or whatever. And that was interesting just because you're getting a perspective of like someone that's coached at the highest level. And of course, after a while, he's a little, a little bit much, just his personality. But I mean, at least that's who he is.
Yeah.
But then you bring in all these, other guys, and just like, I don't know.
Sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with
it. Yeah, and then becomes to be like a little bit of a, what are we doing, a sitcom here?
It's like a talk show.
Like, because like there is added value when someone that's actually like knows what they're talking about. But then I think there's also a trick of like, you do have to like kind of whatever, make it general, and then it's like, well, are they really adding that much? Because they can't speak in football terms, because none of us would know what the hell they're talking about anyways.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it just be, and then you're, then you're like, well, you should know what that is. Everybody does. Like, well, no, not
Yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah.
No, I mean, and then I don't, which I mean, I'm fine with them. It's just a different like jargon or whatever. It's not like it's that complicated. But if you never done it, of course you're not going to know what's going on. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, and I get why it's done too. And just to wrap it up here, because another way to make money, another avenue, get names out there. And I know why the networks do it. I don't think it's for your, I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem like it's your hardcore sports fan that would like it. It's more like I guess more one that's into like that celebrity gossip type of world that wants like, I don't know, all the ancillary stuff that kind of like partly sports, but not really.
Yeah, yeah. So interesting. That was a little wrinkle there. As far as that game goes, the first one, Miami Ole Miss, is in our picks are concerned. Not terrible. I was looking for, I was worried for a while because the over was not looking good there for a long time. And of course, the flurry there at the end of the game that helped it to get over the hump. Over 52 is what I needed. They ended up getting to 58 as the total there at 31-27. So that was good. Unfortunately, though, to get there, didn't quite get to my other prop. I was looking to have them score 7 or more touchdowns. Of course, it ends at 6 instead of the 7. So that's unfortunate. Didn't get that extra boost on that one. But then, SJ, I know you were looking at some other stuff there as far as some other props are concerned, player-wise, and that was kind of also a close deal.
Yeah, the close but no cigar, unfortunately. So we'll have to save those for the next game. But on this one, messed with the overs as well as you, and then had the Miami 3.5. So we were pretty good there. But yeah, that overs was tricky. But I mean, the first drive of the game, you're going down the field, and it looks pretty good. And let's go ahead and take our starting running back out and put in the freaking so the first touchdown drive, I should say, not the first drive of the game. But I mean, he's chunking up yards here. What do you end up with? Like 130 some yards.
133, yeah.
130, yeah. But no touchdown. And that's all we needed from him. I don't care about the damn yards. We just needed one score. And of course he's in there, and then they take him out and put in the backup to punch it in, which I know he's a little bit of their more power back, short yarders back, but not even in a gambling sense. Of course this is, but to me, I'll be like, God, it pissed me off if you're a play, that type of setup where it's like you kind of do all the work, get them down there, and like, all right, now we're gonna put in the short yardage back. Like, freaking MF, I'm the one that did all the damn work. Like,
exactly.
And don't get the freaking reward on top of it. So that's just outside, but didn't hit that one. Then Chambliss, this one was more surprising to me. I needed a couple passing touchdowns for him, and he just ended up with one.
Yeah.
Before the game, I'm like, I wish they had this by halftime, but the way it kind of started to play down, that is a little bit. I mean, that Miami defense is good, but Ole Miss was struggling on there, doing some stuff in addition to the defense kind of shutting them down there, so they weren't really doing themselves many favors. So to get one, honestly, I was surprised that at one point I was like, man, they ain't gonna get anything. I mean, at least like through the air, they had to punch one in, I think, on the ground there in the whatever. But yeah, those ones didn't quite get there on those ones. The Fletcher one was a little bit more of like, at least I had a chance of it. But as far as the Chambliss patching touchdowns, I kind of lost hope there about halftime. And they weren't, as a game, they were not only like, they were still, I guess, deficit wise. It's not like they were like ever like, oh man, they can't come back from this, but how their offense was moving the ball. And they were kicking 42-yard field goal, 58-yard field goal, 54-yard field goal. Like, not only does that not do well for the total, if you're looking for a quarterback to get in the end zone or you find somebody in the end zone, that's not good either. So that was, once the game was, and then I guess you get another field goal to open the fourth quarter where they actually took the lead there, and then did again late there with that touchdown. Of that, the one pass he did throw came with 3 minutes left. So I was like, in my back of my mind, I was like, maybe we can kick a, get late one here, but it wasn't much hope once the game played out the way it did. But going in, I would have thought that was honestly, I was pretty confident with that bet going in, just the way he played and how I thought they could kind of go back and forth with Miami.
Yeah, for sure. I don't disagree with that. I will say I did kind of mention that, the typical book that I used really doesn't have a whole lot of player prop opportunities and doesn't show you that stuff. But I did kind of talk about, if you get an opportunity to look at Fletcher's total, you might want to do that. And he did do that very well. Like you said, 133 yards. I mean, you look at his line, 6 yards a carry. I mean, the guy was really tearing it up pretty much. That's all you can ask out of a back in a big game like that. So he did have one hell of a game. I think his yardage total was like at 85, so he definitely sprinted past that one. So that would have been a good little extra icing on the cake if somebody was able to do that.
Maybe the coach is just trying to keep him hungry. Like, you got to keep running. These touchdowns, you got to keep building up these yards, because that's the only thing he was missing. He had everything else.
Maybe we need to look at that this next game. They're saving it up for the championship. I don't know. All right, so that was that one. The next night, we kind of alluded to, didn't turn out to be much of a football game, really, by the time it got rolling. Indiana lays the whooping down on Oregon. 56-22 ends up being the final score. And, of course, the way the game started, you thought, well, I guess if you watched the first drive, you thought, oh, crap, this could get out of hand, and, of course, eventually did. But the way that Oregon responded and came right back down the field and scored to tie the game early also was kind of like, man, this could be a good back-and-forth game. But that's kind of where it ended there for the Oregon offense. They got out of sorts. Didn't make a lot of plays when they had the opportunities to. Of course, made some really bad mistakes. Obviously the opening pick six is huge. Anytime you do that, you have an immediate disadvantage in the game. I think you even talked about that last time. Anytime you throw one of those, you feel like you probably might lose, good chance to lose the game. They end up doing so. But even worse, I think, was later. Obviously the one time that he drops back and just basically pops out of his hand when he's nobody around him. I mean, you can't survive those kinds of things in a game like that, especially against an Indiana team that had not been making any mistakes lately.
Yeah, that's it right there. It's not only do you have to you got to play your best game and then hope that they play a little bit, have an off night. And that it was almost the opposite. Like, Indiana was playing just as well as they played all playoffs. And then I wouldn't say Oregon played like a terrible game, but as far as when you want to talk about like the intangibles and like the miscues and like execution wise, they were pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that first play, it wasn't like the guy made an amazing break on the ball. He threw it to like his inside shoulder where the defender was instead of towards the sideline, and say, okay, you overcome that. They go down and score and tie it up. And then even at the end of the first quarter, you're only down 14-7. Like, you're still in it. But it's just, I mean, of course, you don't think, I mean, I wasn't like, Oregon's got a pretty good shot here. But you're like, well, you stay in the game, you hang around, who knows what happens. And then it's just like mistake after mistake after mistake. And then once, I mean, that's, I guess, maybe one thing that hasn't been really harped on as much, just because of probably the mere shock of it all is how well they do. But when they get on you, Indiana, it's like they don't look back. They freaking stop. They put their throat on the freaking gas and just run it. Run you off the field. And that's what great teams do. So I guess that's the biggest, maybe intangible, because you can't really say this is why or that's why. But the fact that they're able to like put teams away, for the most part, of course, you can go back, find a game, the Penn State game, the Iowa game. Everybody has those games. But when it's, these big games, at least in the playoffs so far, is they haven't been tested. And when they get a lead, it's like, okay, see you later, you're done. We're not gonna let you hang around at all. So I do think Oregon, there was an opportunity there for them to at least like be competitive and maybe not get so embarrassed the way they did, especially when the first times they played, it was actually a fairly competitive game. Yeah. I know there's a lot different there and you're at home and all that stuff, but I think they could have competed. But man, and I guess you just got to give more credit to the defenses in this case, because we talked about how Ohio State, the QB just went from like 100 to 0 like that quick. Mm-hmm. Moore wasn't much better. I mean, I know he had some pressure on him and certain things, but I mean, you're going to get sacked. You got to hold on to the ball.
Yeah.
And then the one play that you mentioned, it was just like bumped by his running back and like, oh, just take it. I don't want it.
Yeah.
What do you do? Like, if you don't value what are you going to do? That's all you have there. You got to hold on to the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. Lost 2 fumbles through the pick six. And yeah, you talk about just like efficiency. I mean, that's what Indiana is. Like, you give them an opportunity like that in a short field and they just take advantage of it. And they did every single time. I mean, you can play that out by just looking at the numbers. I mean, you look at, Mendoza's line and you think like, oh, if somebody beat the living hell out of another team, this guy had to play, a wildly fantastic game. Well, he was very efficient, but he only threw for 177 yards. like you look at that and you're like, man, what happened? Well, they had short fields a lot and they took advantage of it and they scored. And that's, you just, in those big games, well, in any game for that matter, but in especially in that one, it's magnified, because we all know how much that confidence level and that momentum swing is a factor in football. And I think it's amplified in games like this because guys are going to be a little bit more tight. They're thinking about every play a little bit more. They're beating themselves up a little bit more when they make a mistake. And I think that's what snowballed there for Oregon, because you could just tell as soon as Indiana took advantage of a couple of those early mistakes and got up, and it was just like kind of the head was hanging a little bit for Oregon, and there was no way they were coming back.
Yeah, I'd like to know how many times a quarterback's throwing for 177, less than 180, but 5 touchdowns in the same game. And then his average is less than 9 yards of completion to 8.9. That's just, that's not even to discredit. That's just freaking, that's wild. That's crazy. That you would do that. And then freaking Moore throws for almost 300.
Yeah.
And
and you think he played awful, Really, you look at it and you think the guy played pretty terrible, and for most part he did. He made some plays here and there, but it's interesting because we sometimes get carried away with that, and I guess I have been at times guilty too of looking at that box score, especially after a game, especially if my team lost a close game, and you look at it and you're like, God, we outgained them by this many yards and, this much time of possession, all this kind of stuff. And it's like, yes, all those things are important, and it does show that you had some, skin in the game, so to speak. You were there, you had opportunity to, but it also tells you that there was some major mistakes along the way as well to allow that not to get you the win. You did some things wrong to not make that come through the way it should.
Well, and it's when did those yards or whatever yards or points come, and how that type of thing too is that there's a lot of you can make what that's always been a saying about stats or whatever. You can make you can make it look just like numbers, whatever you can make it look the way you want. You can dress it up. So and honestly that was kind of why I ended up combining for the prop that I ended up playing on this one. That's why I combined Mendoza and Moore, because even though Mendoza was by far the better quarterback in my mind and played a lot better, he just doesn't get the huge passing yards at least.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's got. I don't remember a quarterback throwing for 5 touchdowns very often, man. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, no kidding.
But in the college game, and we'll even I guess go up to the next level too. But he just, the short field, they take advantage of it, and then just kind of maybe dink and dunk their way a little bit more up and down the field or whatever. But that was he was the one I was more thinking he's probably not going to get to 200, but I still thought that they were going to win. So how wild is kind of that thinking? But that's how they've played, and they've had success doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, so when you talk about the plays here, we were both on Indiana to win this game, and I think most people were. I don't think anybody thought it was going to be the way that it played out as far as the difference for sure. But Indiana was laying 3.5, and obviously easily comforted that. If somebody was feeling extra spicy and juicy and thought that they were going to play really well and win it, I'm sure you could have got some really good plus money if you amped up that total for sure. But who knows if anybody's willing to do that.
Someone bumped it up to 15 or a couple of touchdowns or something, because they cleared that easy.
Yeah.
Because you see these wild lines sometimes, especially where it's alternative totals and spreads, is you can get some crazy stuff, but you have to be real confident. I don't know that there's and honestly that's to do it any more than a touchdown, even in this case, would be a little bit I'd like to see the rest of your bets if you're willing to do that, because Indiana was the clear favorite, but not by whatever. What are the 30? What did they end up winning by 34? Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, no, nuts. So then we both had talked about the total. You were talking about getting to the over. Obviously, that became the case. That was the case by halftime, I think, because of Indiana scoring 21 points in the second quarter. I was like, I could see this one getting a little gummed up and goofy, and I went. That was my what the hell bet, I guess, was the under. That was not even close to being the truth there in that game. But then as far as some of the other props you were looking at, you mentioned that the combined total, the two quarterbacks, you just need to get to 400, and obviously that was easily done.
Yeah, and then also got a Surratt anytime touchdown,
Mm-hmm.
the receiver there. So that was I mean, I think he'd had like 7 or 8 games in a row. You never know how it's gonna play out. And I think his didn't come till
It wasn't until
I
later,
was,
yeah.
yeah, it was a little later than I anticipated. So I was a little nervous on that one. That one didn't come till I think it was second half. Oh, no, late, just with under a minute there in the first
First
half.
half,
So
okay.
a little bit, but I mean that for
They'd
the
already
way they play,
scored,
I
yeah.
was thinking first second drive he's gonna get in the end zone. So but yeah, we did pretty good on that game actually. Props came out pretty nice. So yeah, it's yeah, just especially with college. I don't know. I mean, I guess we know why, but it's as much things, many things you can bet on, and all the different darts and cricket and all
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. Table tennis. Give us some more props on college. That should be a 2026 resolution for the books there.
Yeah.
Let's get those NCAA props going.
Yeah. But yeah, did pretty good overall, I guess, on both of those games, really. So not too bad. Pretty decent weekend coming out as far as the plays are concerned. We did kind of talk a little bit about some things going on in the NFL as far as our plays are concerned as well. And of course, that's still one of these at least is still to be decided because the game's on Monday, and one's actually still happening right now as we record with the Pats game. But other than that, we both talked about how I thought the number was too high, and boy, I was right. The Panthers damn near pulled off the win. They had a good chance too, man.
That was a
kind of
heartbreak.
sucked.
I mean,
Yeah,
that catch was Parkinson for the Rams. Is that who pulled it in?
yeah.
And that was, I mean, that was amazing. I don't not only the catch, but I mean, he didn't even his whole body was with inside the pylon. Just that
Mm-hmm.
body control and balance like that's got a hell of a way to lose that game because they were right there, and for much of it, they looked like, I mean, they probably looked like the better team for a lot of that game.
Yeah, yeah. I don't disagree. They really did. And I guess it. And I don't know. I don't know what goes. Obviously, none of us do because we'd be rich. But I don't know what goes into this. Deciding what these lines are sometimes. But you look at that, and especially in the NFL. Okay, anything over a touchdown usually is kind of like, wow, what's going on here? And then you also in that game you go back to the regular season, and the Panthers beat them.
Yeah.
They beat them already once. Like, what's to say that they're going to lose by, 2 possessions, in this game? I just didn't see that at all. And yeah, I give the Panthers credit because I think they played a really good game. And the Rams just, they hung in there. They took their blows, because it was looking like the Panthers were going to win the game multiple times. But they were able to find a way to get it done. So, yeah, good game. I did enjoy, checking out a little bit of that. Well, all of them really have been close. We haven't been disappointed so far, I guess, as far as the endings are concerned. And then, God knows, I mean, I don't know that we had plays going. Did you have anything in that Packers Bears game?
No, no, God, this freaking maybe some sweat equity. That
Yeah,
thing was wild
it
at the end of
was.
it. I didn't end up making any. I did nothing I mentioned on the show. I ended up just throwing something out there for fun last minute, and of course it was the missed it by the third. The third leg always gets you. That's what they tell you, and when you're coming up there in the school of hard knocks. But Williams, I just did a little fun play on the side. So I guess if I won, I'd be, dancing here, but I didn't. So I was like, but Williams over 200 yards passing, Swift 50 yards rushing, which those both hit. And then I needed again, this is one of those, the same like deal with Fletcher. I just want to get the number for you, just have it exact on his stats here. But the tight end, freaking Loveland,
Oh,
he
yeah.
needed just anytime touchdown. Bro gets 8 catches, 137
Yeah.
yards, no touchdown.
No touchdowns. Yeah, he was all
And he
over
had
the
scored,
place.
like, in the last 4 or 5 games, he'd been a pretty, big target, obviously, a
Mm-hmm.
bit. And there's a couple times where he went to him, and it was like, oh man, he might get it. And so that was the one that killed that one. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
been pretty good. But yeah, I mean, that was like a last minute. Didn't have time to get it out there. I just like sitting home, like, screw it, one of those things. But I was like, man, that would have been a pretty nice little haul there, because man, Williams, for all this talk about, man, if I was quarterback of my team, I'd be fine with him. I mean, I know he's a little bit out of sorts and off, kind of has a little bit of a, funky personality, but man, who gives a crap, man? The way he can throw the ball around like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I ended up doing one late that was Bears and then also a Dunze to get an anytime touchdown. And one of those deals, of course, there was multiple opportunities, and I'm watching, I'm seeing where he is when he lines up every time. I'm like, all right, keep an eye on here. And of course, there was one, it was just a bad throw. Williams just he tried to put it deeper instead of throwing it to the outside, and he like easily would have ran under it and scored, but he couldn't reach back far enough to grab it.
I remember talking about it's one of those I thought you were gonna do one of these.
Yeah. It's like, God damn it, there was my chance. So I knew at that point. I was like, yeah, probably not gonna happen now. But he had his opportunities, so I didn't feel too bad about it. It was just a fun little play. But you're right. He's so. I don't know, man. He's such an enigma though, because like he'll do something like that fourth down throw, just like incredible. Like how do you even, your feet aren't even on the ground and you're making that kind of throw. He's awesome. And then he'll have like a, fairly what you would consider a fairly simple kind of like out route or something, and he throws it 5 yards outside of the guy's reach. Like he's very inconsistent. And that's why, they talked about it during the game. His percentage is like pretty low for what you would consider a star quarterback. But when you're making the ones when it counts, and you have that kind of like it factor ability, I'm with you. I wouldn't hate it if he was my guy, because in the moment he's going to give you a chance. But also there would be times too where you're pulling your hair out, because it's like you should have had that one, man.
Well, and I will give the fact of I could see where kind of his demeanor and like body language and like reactions, because he obviously does. I don't think this is true, but he kind of has that, like, doesn't seem to care when it's like something bad happens. He just kind of go So, and I don't necessarily think you want to be like someone that's like losing their mind after every play or anything, but he kind of has the opposite, where it doesn't seem to matter. And I can understand, because that part of it would bother me, but the big moments, I guess, that's what I was kind of, I guess thinking about, because there's been a few games where like, what the hell just happened? Was it the Niners game that one week? And it's just like making these crazy.
The last Packers game before this one, when he made the throw,
like throwing it 50 yards down the field on a line, like it's just like, playing catch with your son in the backyard, just flicking it out there.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, he's got some serious arm talent, that's for sure. I did appreciate too. I guess maybe it's just because they haven't been in these moments, because they're the Bears and they haven't been very good. But that's the first time that I'd heard him kind of like speak in a long form thing for an interview a lot, and I did appreciate how he's pretty forthright. Like, I don't know. It seemed more conversational than most guys, I guess, is what I appreciated about it. He didn't give you like the lines. Yeah. He just kind of like talked from the heart a little bit. It seemed like, like, oh, this is what we need to do, and this is what we're going to go back and focus on and get better. And even I saw a clip too of their celebration afterwards, where they were handing out game balls, and his talk was pretty cool. So I appreciate him a little bit more, I guess, after that one.
And then those freaking those handshakes, man, that's getting to be a thing between the Green Bay and Chicago coach. I don't mind. I think it's funny. Yeah. I like that. That's a good sidebar story. Yeah. I think, and the cheese graters too. You gotta love that.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a now that's genius marketing. That's something I can get behind.
That's commitment. They kept going to that guy. It's like, first of all, you had the wherewithal and probably the sneaking ability to get a real cheese grater into the game, and then they're cutting to him and he's doing the Parmesan,
It's
a great visual.
What took so long is what I mean. These teams have been playing for how long? Like, I guess did somebody finally said, "Screw it, I'm getting this in by hook or crook." Who knows how he snuck it in? We don't want to know that story.
Maybe not. Pretty interesting. But yeah, it was a good atmosphere, good game. That was fun to watch. And then, the ones even the ones so far today have been wild. I mean, Jacksonville certainly had their chances, but Buffalo came back, and I did end up, I didn't post this, I should have earlier today. I ended up making a play with my cousin on Jacksonville, San Francisco, and then the Patriots here today. But I told him when because he sent me that suggestion, and I was kind of like, I don't know. I think Allen's probably going to put on the Superman cape today like he normally does, but their defense isn't great, so I could see them losing this game. But there again, he kind of just he put him on his back and made the plays again offensively for them to get it done. And in Jacksonville hasn't been in that spot, so I guess that's where you have the upper hand as far as Buffalo is concerned, and I think that made the difference today.
Yeah, I mean, don't always like to do this, but sometimes it's like when you feel like this is like too much of a popular upset pick, you're like, I don't know about that. And when I mean, it's not a foolproof thing, but when you're watching the whatever pregame shows or see previews pop up and picks and predictions, if the whole desk is picking one way, it doesn't make. Because there was a lot of Jacksonville support, it seemed like, from the people following the game day to day. So, and it was obviously just because they had a chance to win it.
They did.
So it's not like they got their ass kicked or anything, but I felt like it was kind of like one of those things where whatever faults they might have, because they definitely aren't as talented as they've been in the past, the Bills, but it seemed like one of those situations, at least for them, the motivation had to have been there, because it's kind of like you could teams do this all the time. It's not accurate and they just lie to themselves. But I do think this was one motivation where you could say no one's really picking you to win this one. Now next week could be a different story, but I do think there's a lot of people kind of pulling or calling for that upset when that one, just the way it's set up, and they had they were on the road and have a lot of questions coming in. So I do think maybe that was a little bit of a motivator that it kind of had them maybe play a little bit better than they might have got snuck up on if it wasn't for all the the public talk. But
I did think that early on I was like, no way, this can't be real, when Allen ran that one in and then he gets hurt and you think that it almost looks serious, and I'm like, oh shit, like you got to be kidding me. Like the reason that everybody talked, of course, about how Burrow's not in, Mahomes isn't in, Jackson, all these guys that had serious injuries throughout the season, and then this shit's gonna happen to him in the early in the first game. I was like, this is unreal. But luckily he wasn't. It wasn't a big deal when he came back. But I would have felt bad about that for sure. But Jacksonville, they blew their chances when they were close. I mean, they had plenty of times where they got down the field and then they didn't capitalize and score points when they needed to. So that was on them.
And even on that last, after the Bills took the lead for the last time, there wasn't the first or second play they threw a pick right away.
Yeah, it was like the first play.
I mean, they had time. Like this, I mean, I know it would have been tough. It wasn't like it was a sure score or anything like that, but it's kind of panicked and threw the game away right away.
Yeah, and it was a bad throw. So that one stings for them, I'm sure. And then. Let's see, we just wrapped up a little bit ago. The Niners were able to pull off one against the Eagles. I'm not surprised by that, I guess. Like I said, I picked that earlier here today as far as the play goes. But the thing that is concerning, and I guess this applies to a lot of teams, in my opinion, in the playoffs this year, it just seems like there isn't very many of these teams that have a defense that scares you. And San Francisco is certainly not one of those. They have really struggled to be consistent. But lo and behold, into the game, it's their defense that wins them the game. So you just never know what it's going to come down to sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I have to go less starters or more backups than starters at this point than when they started the year too. So on the defense, I mean, that's part of the game. It's not an excuse. You got to find somebody to play. So, but yeah, that was it was almost like kind of I mean, of course, you credit the victors always, but it's almost like Eagles kind of you talk about, the Bills could have, let one slip away if that was an injury and it wouldn't have been under control, but it was almost like Philadelphia. They kind of really pissed away a really good opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, they've been fun so far, and we'll, of course, have hopefully some fun ones. As we're talking right now, it's a 3-3 game, almost nearing halftime.
Hope you had the unders on that one.
Yeah, no shit. No, I had the Pats. I didn't make that play. They're giving 3.5, so I guess I got to get their shit together here. But
yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think Patriots I think they'll find a way to win this one straight up. We'll see. Hopefully by the time this comes out, we're looking like smart men.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't feel like the firepower is there for the Chargers for sure. And the Patriots have played so well all year long that they get that one. I do feel really good, and maybe I'll look like an idiot by the time you listen to this too, but I do feel really good about tomorrow night. I mean, I think the Texans are going to run away with that game against the Steelers. I mean, it gives me a little bit of trepidation that it is at Pittsburgh, but I don't know. Texans are on a roll right now. you always look for that team that finds a way to get hot. It seems like in this wild card round and make a run. Texans are already there. They've already been hot, and I don't know that there's any reason to expect that that's going to change at this point, especially against the Steelers team that's been pretty ho-hum here. They kind of snuck their way into this thing in the first place, so I'm sure that on their side is motivation that they don't have anything to lose. They're going to go out there and just play with house money kind of thing. But I don't know. This Texans team's pretty talented across the board, I think, and I think they've got enough, especially to get through this first round. So I feel pretty good about that -3 play I talked about last time.
Yeah, I mean, we talked to the Steelers, how they got in too doesn't really be like, oh yeah, that I felt confident with them. They they freaking, I don't even know, backdoor is probably not even enough to
True.
that doesn't do justice. Like whatever, it came to the crawl space, I don't know, to the little attic door that pulls down the stairs. Like somehow they snuck in, and like somehow they got in. I don't know that they're in, whether you deserve it or not, that's a different conversation, but they're in.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see. Of course, that one, coming up on Monday night, 7:15 kickoff. That's an ESPN ABC broadcast. I'll bring this up too before we get back to the championship here for the college ranks. I've seen some interesting comments as far as the media coverage is concerned about who gets what, and there were some people making comments about how they feel like it's wrong that the entire playoff is basically controlled by ESPN, especially when you get to the Final Four round for the college side. And I get that argument a little bit. I don't hate the fact that the NFL has multiple places that you go to, get the coverage. It's a nice little wrinkle in it, I guess. But I did see a joke too that I thought was kind of funny. So they had a post or created this look at a game, and they're like, well, for the first time ever, the NFL is going to air each quarter of this particular game on these different platforms that you have to go to. Yeah. And it's it is getting to the point where it is a little ridiculous, because when I'm having to go to Amazon Prime to watch a playoff football game, I can see why people are getting a little bit angry and upset with that.
Yeah, it's almost like the exact opposite. You know exactly where to go for college, but you don't know where the hell, unless you're a fan of that team. I'm always okay, where's this? I mean, I literally have to look.
I gotta go look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not even, I'm anti, stream thing. It does suck, but it's whatever. It is what it is. But Prime is one that I've never really had and don't. So I just got to find alternate routes to watch it, whether it be go somewhere or do whatever you got to do. So, that was Prime's that's not one I'm just not going to get with that one. I don't use the service enough, and I think it's dog shit on top of everything. I can't get a damn package for a week, and it's supposed to be the best shipping ever. I ain't paying for that shit. So, but so that's one I'm out on. Just if you could do maybe there is one. I guess they need to look better. Just, I don't care about the season games, because usually I'm busy on Thursday nights and the games aren't that good to I got to be home to watch this. But when it comes to, if there was would pay $10 this month for the playoffs, I'm in. I'll do that. I mean, maybe there is an option, someone let me know. I haven't decided out, just because I'm usually, busy. Last time I was actually at home, not on Saturday. I was I'll just try to, never mind. It's on Prime. I guess I'll see where I can find another option here, and then head somewhere, watch a little bit of the game or whatever. But I'm with you on that one. I don't like to be the old man yells at clouds.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, it's a little bit much. You got YouTube now, and at least, it is, I'm not in love with the production value, and as far as the, broadcast staff and all that, but at least Netflix is one that we're pretty much everybody has Netflix.
True. Yeah.
So it's not, and I guess maybe Prime's that way too. And I'm probably the, small percentage that don't have it. Maybe there's more, I guess I'm giving that credit to, but at least it's not, to me, I guess it's not the chances of someone having Netflix to me is greater than Prime still. So I don't mind them going there, because you have a pretty large audience. So I can understand why they do that, because you're going to get the views. But they're it's what service haven't they been on at this point? They on Roku TV? Are they on Tubi? Are they on freaking?
Yeah, we did Tubi for
what don't they have a sticking thing on?
Yeah. Yeah, what was that? That was one of the that was one of the Christmas Day games or something.
I would
Something was goofy
probably.
with you had to do Tubi. I don't know what the hell it was. I remember I was like, what the fuck is this? Even my son comes in, he's like, "Hey Dad, what is Tubi? I got tell me I got to go to
Hold on,
Tubi."
yeah, I'm not quite sure
I
either.
don't know.
Like, which one of your friends told you about that? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do I need to block this or do what's going
yeah,
on here?
exactly. Yeah, we have the damn freaking Norton antivirus. That shit not working.
Uh, yeah, I don't. I mean, I get. Yeah, that's the thing. I guess when you already have like, traditionally there's already 3 networks that cover the sport consistently, and then now you're throwing these other offshoots on top of that. I can get how it's frustrating for the average Joe to try to like figure out. And like you said, I always try to go to whatever score app that I use and to see what it says as far as what the broadcast thing is. And then if it doesn't specify, then I know it's one of the goofy offshoot streaming things that I got to figure. Okay, now which one is one of these 2 that I can figure out? But yeah, it is slightly annoying. Yeah, so I don't know. It's not going to change at this point. There's whoever gives you the most money is what's going to happen. But
well, yeah, I mean, I get having like a seasonal contract or a contract for the regular season is, but this is a situation where you're trying to. I mean, not necessarily like gain viewers, but pro sports are so regionalized that the people aren't going to care about these teams playing now in most cases. So now it's like, well, you got to make it more accessible. Because,
yeah, you got to make it mass.
Yeah, like you don't have the local option because usually like here, like flip on I think it's NBC, right, the local NBC affiliate, but one of them here in Kansas City always has a deal for the Chiefs, and everybody knows it's going to be on NBC. It's going to be on. They just go there. But with these other teams, like, you don't know because you're not watching them unless they're playing your team. So I'm sure it's that way in every NFL city. If it's NBC, CBS, Fox, whatever, it's one of those.
Mm-hmm.
So you just by just assuming it's going to be there. I don't know what to watch, and maybe you don't care, but I think people still want to watch football.
Yeah, yeah, and you used to always know too. It was like if it was AFC, it was on CBS. If it was NFC, it was on Fox. That kind of rule. Whoever was home, you followed that, and that's still a little bit true, but that's morphed and changed, of course, over time too. Now that we have all these cross divisional things that happen, yeah, and I think it is a little bit discrediting too. Like if you don't. Like, I get it. It's a new age. Like, most people have the access and capabilities to do whatever it may be. But the reality is that's still not everybody. There's still a lot of people that just don't care. They're not gonna pay the money for that kind of entertainment because they have other interests. But if it was on a general network, it may still just end up on, as random casual interest. And I think, to me, like you're saying, that's the point. Like, this needs to be as widely accessible as possible so that you get as many eyeballs on it as possible to maximize your profit. That's what they're all about. So that's the one thing that it is a little bit weird to me, that you're allowing, obviously they don't do that when we're getting further past the wild card round. Mm-hmm. You won't see that happen. But even with these, it's kind of like, we're in the playoffs. Like, this should be pretty widely accessible for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a matter of not trying to, be, Scrooge McDuck over here, but it's not like I can't afford it. It's a matter of I don't care that much. I'm done with. I'm not gonna, at some point it's like I'm not getting another damn service. And there's been a few things where I've wanted to watch. I'm like, I'm just gonna go somewhere and watch it instead of at some point that's enough. I have enough streams. I can't even remember my damn passwords anyways. I don't want another freaking credit card auto, deducting something or you. I mean, some people are crazy enough to put their debit cards on there, but that's another story. But either way, like, you're done with it. You just don't want any more of that, and you just not watch it. And if you don't have a emotional investment to it, then that's fine. I'll miss a few games. I don't know. Ever since they've went to Prime, I haven't watched a Thursday night game.
Yeah, well, and I'll be one of those guys that's first to admit too that, like, I thought it was kind of a travesty back when we decided that Monday Night Football was going to be on ESPN and it wasn't going to be on ABC anymore, so that the average Joe couldn't watch it. I mean, that was when, even that step, moving to cable, was like a deal still. Obviously, we've gotten way past that at this point with the internet deal, but yeah, to me, that was still kind of the wrong way to go about it. And I think there still are situations like this where, it should be pretty widely accessible to most people, no matter what their, capabilities and tax bracket may be.
I mean, that's what happens when you let Den do on the airwaves and he starts changing everybody's name. So, I mean, if they're willing to sign a deal with Romo going to Prime, I'll donate $5 to that cause.
There you go. Well, and what's funny, I think what's funny too about that, when I was kind of upset with that situation at the time, and then it's what's interesting now is, of course, you see when it gets to be the biggest of the biggest games, ESPN will do the broadcast, but it'll also be on ABC. Mm-hmm. So it's like we've almost reversed course a little bit in certain situations too. So I don't know. I find that intriguing. The other thing I did want to say about that real quick, this is a media note, I guess. I wasn't going to bring this up, I guess, originally when we sat down to talk, but I noticed it pretty heavily last night as I was watching, because I do still have Prime. And I'm with you. I don't know why, because it doesn't get me my packages in time.
At least you're willing to admit that most of the Prime people are in the state of denial still.
Yeah.
Like, I use this all the time. It's great.
2 days shipping my ass. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So I'm watching the game, and I have a lot of respect for Al Michaels and what he has done in his career. He's a legendary broadcaster. Some of the most iconic moments in sports are through his voice, and rightfully so. He does a good job, but it's to the point where it's like, damn, you don't want to see a guy go out like that. Like he needs to hang it up, because there's just so many points in the game now where he sees a play and he just doesn't see it, and I think it's just sheerly an age thing. It's not his fault. It's not that he's not trying, he's not preparing. He knows the guy, he knows his stuff still, but it's like just seeing the play. I mean, there were a couple instances last night where one of them was, and he drops it. Well, when in reality it hit the back of another guy's shoulder that was covering him on the route and popped away. And it was pretty obvious, like in the moment, that that's what happened. And so I text my buddy, who is also a former broadcaster here in town, and just made that comment, like, man, this is sad. Like, Michaels just needs to hang it up, because like he just misses so much. And he referenced that exact play back to me. He's like, "Oh, you mean this?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's why I just said that." And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, and can you imagine being the guy working with him, not wanting to make him look bad, And I'm like, you're right. I mean, Herbstreit's probably sitting there like biting his tongue half the time, because like he doesn't want to denigrate him, because he knows how great he is and what he's done. But at the same time, it's like, man, you're missing the play here.
Yeah, well, I mean, Herbstreit biting his tongue isn't a bad thing, so I guess we can give thank you, Al, for helping us all out. But I mean, I don't know if maybe this was false reporting, but I swear I saw something that Michaels plans to come back next year. I don't know if it's one of those, like, yikes. Someone hears something and reports it as fact, so we'll have to stay tuned to that one. But I mean, what do you usually retire, like in your mid 60s or 70s? And I mean, he's in his 80s, right? Like, I mean, it's a job where your vision, your brain, like, it has to be,
a lot of things got to be sharp.
I mean, like, and for his age, he's just fine. It's just at some point it gets to be too much. And then there was also that point in time I thought maybe it's bounced back, because I haven't seen, obviously I mentioned I don't watch the Prime games too often, so maybe it's gotten better. But I swear, like a couple of years ago, like even part of last year, like just the clips you hear in the audio, it's like he didn't want to be there at all. Maybe just like screw this shit. And I think a lot of it was like maybe he didn't, and I don't blame him for this, didn't necessarily want to. Herbstreit and him wasn't the best, wasn't his dream scenario there of a partner to work with, and maybe he's kind of gotten over that and they've made the best of it. But yeah, it's, no one's gonna fire him or tell him to leave, but it's probably not the best case scenario at this point.
Yeah, when there was there was another particular play, and now it's leaving my mind exactly what happened, but it was another deal where he said something and it was like you totally just didn't see what happened. Like that's what it was. It was Watkins. He was diving into the end zone, and he got hit and the ball popped out. and it was like a yard and a half short of the goal line. The ball just popped straight up in the air, and it ends up falling in the end zone, and another Packer got on top of it and recovered it, and Michaels is like, oh, to the end zone, and he got it. Yes, touchdown. And then they're like, wait, and so they went back and reviewed it. And of course, what the scenario was is the ball came out. So since they recovered it, they had to bring it back to the point where the ball was fumbled, because you can't fumble forward or whatever. So that's what they ended up, they got the ball back on the 2-yard line. And it was kind of just another one of those deals like, man, how did you not see that ball fly out of his hands? Like, it's just one of those deals. And, but the other thing too with the scenarios, and maybe this is, I don't know, maybe I'm just wrong in how he's always been, but there were a couple of moments too in that game, because it was a pretty exciting game where like his tone just kind of wasn't, it just didn't feel like it fit the moment. Like you got to get a little bit, you got to inject a little bit more incitement into this too. I mean, I know the plays speak for themselves, and that's part of it also, but like you got to get people tell in your voice, kind of like how you're reacting to it and handling it. And I just felt like it wasn't quite there. I also will say that for whatever reason, whatever the Prime production deal is, it's not bad, but like the audio isn't there to like make you feel like you're in the moment like some of the other broadcasts are. And I don't know what that is, what that difference is that they do differently, but you didn't get the crowd sense, because I from the shots that when they panned out, and of course they made reference to it multiple times as the broadcast team, like, oh, it's so, the crowd really is into it here, and they pan out and it's like, yeah, they are, but I can't hear it.
Crowd, yeah. I'm glad you brought up the audio, because this was something I meant to, pass along to you, but I guess, my dream may be coming true. And I believe it was Peacock, which I think they have the best production out there. And then it speaks to this. They're just looking at, I guess, doing some new things where there'll be a little bit more like control on the user side, where it's not like so you could go into your whatever setup you have, and in your settings you'll be able to like kind of. I'm guessing there'll be some type of like whatever, like a meter, and you can go up and down with the sound of like the stadium, opposed to like the announcers. Like you could potentially turn them all the way down and just get like the live action and the PA sound, which I've been. I've said it. I don't know how much I've said on the show, but yeah, that'd be ideal for certain events. Of course, sometimes, and you can. But the thing is, it's like a user friendly thing. So maybe it's a big moment you want to hear the announcers.
Yeah, you bring them back up.
Yeah, or like a replay, then you turn it up and then you can turn it back down. But I mean, that's the type of stuff you should be getting, I think, with these streaming and these other services. Like that's different than cable. That's like something that you can, whether you have to pay for it per month, it's like we don't like the situation it's that, but at least give us some of those functions and features that are capable. And that's where you kind of have the that's where you have cable beat out. You can do stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you have the technology, that's what it's about, like giving you technological options. And I did see that story too. That's awesome. Yeah, that'll be cool to see how that works. And I of course the headline was about whether you could mute the announcers. That was the big deal. But having the mix option, that's interesting. Yeah, being able to kind of control it on your own. Because and I don't disagree either that might just be a personal preference. Some people might like it certain ways. Like I guess to me, watching that game last night, I just felt like I needed to feel more of the atmosphere. I needed the crowd to be a little bit more part of it. And some people may be like, well, I don't want to hear that. I don't know. They just want to be more focused on the action.
Honestly, if you're pissed off your team's losing, then you just mute it all down and just listen to I mean, those types of things or whatever. Or if you like actually care what's going on and you don't want someone like going on some stupid diatribe about whatever that has nothing to do with the game, because I mean, that's what I'm thinking about when it's like a game for a team you care about. There's a lot of people just sync it up with their local or, radio affiliate or whatever, or listen that way still and watch, live. So you can get kind of the Homer version of it, or just, sometimes you got to mute it because it's like, dude, you're obviously have a bias in this game and I just can't listen to this anymore. So, I mean, sometimes you're in those situations. It'd be nice to not have to mute it and just have some other sound options.
Yeah. That's interesting. We'll see how that goes for sure. All right, so we need to get back here and do a little bit of a preview analysis here of the national championship game that's coming up. Of course, we do still have some time because it won't happen before we probably give you another show. There on what is it, the 19th? Is that the Monday the 19th? Yeah, is the
Yeah, that
title game.
looks right. Yeah.
But yeah, Indiana, Miami. I mean, interesting. Like we talked about, the storyline certainly make it interesting. Obviously if you're going to be another person that's still affected by history and bias or whatever, you may think that, well, Miami's, they've got a history. They've been there before. They're on their home field. But I guess I'm to the point here with this Indiana team that they don't make, like you said, we don't make mistakes. They play so well and sound that I don't see them being the underdog in this game. I guess I would think that they're going to be the ones that come out on top.
Yeah, as far as I guess on the field and what we've seen from these teams, it's real hard to think they're going to lose. I guess if you want to say, is there a way that they can, maybe have a chance to not have a perfect season, would be what is the actual? I mean, yeah, you say everyone's like, oh, they're playing in Miami, it's Miami, but even when they were like in their heyday of like the U and all that, it wasn't like, oh man, this is like a crazy, home fan base. Like it was just kind of like,
yeah,
of course, when they started winning, people show up, but
yeah.
it wasn't like intimidating, nothing. You just had the advantage of being at home and getting like not have to travel and stuff. But it wasn't like, oh my God, this place is like a freaking walking into a hornet's nest. It wasn't anything like that. No. And then you consider the fact that their home stadium is, I mean, they just use the Dolphin Stadium on a couple weekends a year. So it's not like it's like, oh man, this is the, Miami's. It's a little different than like an on-campus site where it's not, you're not playing on someone's. So I'll be curious to see. Like it, I would assume there's going to probably be a few more Miami fans, but when it comes to these championships, there's like ticket allotments and that type of thing. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's a fan base that's going to just buy up everything. Now, other teams that would be a different story. If you're playing like whatever, let's say you can pick a lot of teams out there, but anyway, with like a pretty solid fan base there. If you're playing at their home stadium or like somewhere where like maybe if you're playing at Atlanta, one of those southern schools, or in Dallas, like a Texas school would probably, sell it out pretty good or anything of that sort. But I don't know that it'll be like a huge advantage. Like, there's going to be a good following. And of course they'll have all the former players on the sidelines going wacky, but that will be something to watch. And then I guess it would be, we talked about Indiana kind of saying like, make the right plays and do the right thing, but there's an added level of pressure in this game. I mean, did you ever think a team would go 16-0 in the playoff era? If that was what we're calling it,
yeah,
like, that'd be pretty wacky. So I do think that could factor in.
That's true.
And maybe you see some uncharacteristic mistakes that you haven't seen. And this is all talking if you're saying how Indiana could maybe not either a close competitive game or not come out on top. It's not what I think is going to happen, but I guess this would be a couple of things that I could maybe see happening where maybe Indiana doesn't win by, 3 touchdowns. Maybe it's a little bit more close game, or maybe they end up, falling. That would be the, a couple of ways. It'd have to be like a turnover ridden game. Maybe you get an injury early in the game. We saw in that Big Ten championship, Mendoza got rocked pretty early, and that was he came back and played fine, but that would have been a big deal there, and they probably wouldn't be where they are now. So those are the type of things. So you're talking about kind of some extraordinary stuff happening for Miami to have a chance in my mind, just because of how well Indiana's been playing and also for most of the season, and then especially since the Big Ten championship.
Yeah. And you're right. That is one thing to keep an eye on. I mean, we've been in this scenario before where there's been an undefeated team and then they lay an egg at the end to finish it off. This team definitely is different because the expectations were never there in the first place and haven't been the whole way. They've got people that have doubted them all along. And they just don't seem to be affected by it that much. I don't know. It just is the way they are, the way they're built. But I think what gives them an advantage just in this particular matchup too is the fact that they are so kind of versatile. It seems like Miami's almost a hot and cold kind of thing. Like they get on a roll, then yeah, it's going well. But you get in a game where things don't start well and it gets a little sloppy, like that A&M game, for example. It just like they seem to fall into those traps sometimes. Whereas Indiana is pretty consistent, and they can do it both ways. We talked about how, Mendoza may not throw for the most incredible yardage, but he's going to do it efficiently, and he's going to make the plays that they need. And then their ground game's pretty damn good. They've got two good running backs that can break them. So I don't. And then they're just so good up front too. They they clear the path pretty well and keep Mendoza clean most of the time. So that's what I think gives them the edge here, because Miami just seems a little bit more temperamental. But yeah, you could see some of those types of factors that could wrinkle in here a little bit. But still, I mean, and I think the line tells you that too. I didn't realize until I'd looked here a moment ago. Indiana's right now an 8-point favorite, so that tells you that a lot of people do have finally, maybe turned the respect on a little bit here for them.
Yeah, it's gonna have to probably be search out those props, because it's not gonna be a lot of value with how heavy of a favorite Indiana is if you think they're gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you wouldn't. Again, just you have to rely on some crazy, unexpected things, and also you're gonna have to muck it up and play really ugly. Miami's just gonna have to run the ball, shorten that game, keep the clock going. But even then, it's like you're gonna have to play. You cannot have, I would say one turnover is like max, and you better be like in a situation where you're at the your side of the field, or it's like some maybe an arm punt where you just chuck it up deep and they pick it off and at their own 15 or something. But yeah, you're gonna have to play a pretty damn good game to beat Indiana, and I mean that's wacky to say, but that's the reality of things right now. And honestly, like I'm not even trying to like freaking. Don't want to like, but Indiana they really do need to capitalize though, because we've seen. I mean, these windows, they close quick, so this is a big chance for them to kind of make a statement. And I think that's going to be a big motivator for them, because even though it's like, damn, Indiana may never lose again. What's next season they go lose 3-4 games. I'm not predicting it, but it's like who knows what's going to happen. So I think that will actually benefit them of like how dialed in the coach is, and being like, we need to win. We got to win this now, because who knows we're going to be here again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the plan is to keep doing it, but.
Yeah,
there's a lot of teams thought they're going to be there. Ohio State thought they'd be there again, So,
well, and I think that's kind of the double-edged sword of this thing too. Is like, yeah, it's very, very much evident that you can build a quick winner and figure it out quickly and do it in this new world that we live in. But I also think it's going to be, now you have that many more teams that also have that same ability. So
everybody's doing the same thing,
yeah. So to be able to sustain your dominance, that's going to be pretty damn hard. So yeah, I agree. You got to strike while the iron's hot, so to speak. Not to say that I think that they're going to go away and not be good, but to be undefeated national champion good, yeah, that's the thing you want to do when you have the chance. That's for sure.
Well, even with the playoffs, the politics are still going to be involved, so you don't want to be, like Notre Dame feels like they could have done just as well as you did, but they didn't have the chance.
Mm-hmm.
Could they have? Who knows? But that's the way the game's played.
Mm-hmm. Well, and as much as we've talked about how different this Kurt Cignetti fella is. Obviously, he's got to
finally redeemed yourself.
He finally redeemed himself. He's got a way about him. I mean, it is awkward to see him on the sidelines, and especially like when good things happen. It's like, can we get this guy to like at least like smirk? I mean, we're not asking him to like smile and yuck it up with everybody, but it's like, you can't be pissed when your team's up, 50-20. Like, come on, bro.
Well, I mean, we're talking about Cignetti here, but even friggin' Cristobal in Miami, the dude tries to give him a hug and he's friggin' about to fucking choke him out. I was like, dude, chill. He's happy. Like, it wasn't like he just was like giving him a quick, little hug, and he was gonna go, but he's like, get off me. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, chill out, man. Yeah. Yeah,
these guys are a little uptight sometimes. But we did get this. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this well. I'm going to try to do this here. But Kurt Cignetti, the post-game interview after the game, and kind of talking about, like, looking forward here, congratulating him here. So he finally became one of us a little bit here.
Coach, I know you're thinking about the next game, when will you stop and appreciate how special and how historic all of this has been?
I'm really not thinking about the next game. I'm thinking about cracking open a beer.
There you go. Now we have a reason to, he's just like us, right? One pant at a time, one beer at a time.
Yeah. So the man's cracking open a beer. I appreciate that. That was pretty cool. Afterwards, there the game, and yeah, it's not the response you would have expected from him. For sure. So that is cool. Here moving forward, so the game, obviously a little bit of ways away. We'll, of course, get to our, predictions and plays down the road here once we get closer to that. So be on the lookout for that as well. If you would like, subscribe, get the notifications on our YouTube channel. We'd appreciate that because that's where we put those picks and plays out there for you. Of course, we might, as we're getting into the later rounds here, the NFL playoffs, might throw some of that in there for you as well. And, of course, we're transitioning into deeper into basketball season also, so we'll start hitting that a little bit more here as we move on from the football world. And if you would like, subscribe, get the notifications here for the podcast. We'd appreciate that. Available on all your major platforms, including our host here at Spotify. And then if you would follow us along on social media at SJM Bets, at Cherokee CP. Those are our handles on Twitter. We put some of our plays out there for you, interact a little bit time to time. Of course, you can find then easily the feeds for the both podcast and picks when we do that through that channel as well. So a good way to stay connected. So we'd hope you do that also. Before we sign off, we do want to give us a chance to feel good about ourselves here a little bit. We've got the Iowa State Cyclones and the Nebraska Cornhuskers both at 16-0 right now here. Pretty wild world we're living in right now. Cornhuskers, a hell of a comeback this weekend, 16 down at Indiana. Of course, now not a basketball school, but a football school. So that's where the world's gone, SJ.
Yeah, we can move on from that's like the narrative has become. It's like, who would have thought Indiana's good at football and Nebraska's good at basketball? Like, they had nothing to do with us, but I'm good with combining Iowa State. And then there's even a friggin' connection there too that doesn't get brought up often, which is a weird that, former coach and current coach. So I'd be fine with that tie-in better than this Indiana bullshit. But it wasn't nice to beat them, to kind of give them a little reality check there because they've been kind of mouthing off a little too much. But yeah, it's the thing. I guess I kind of spoke with you. I think it was off air or offline or whatever. Just being like, it's still the same thing that hangs around. It's like, is this team legit? It's like, bro. I mean, I'm just like, I don't really entertain that conversation. Just one game at a time is how you got to take it and just keep winning. But I do think that actually, like, and I understand there's like a lot more work to do, and that's the nice thing. It's like every kind of interaction you see and whatever is like, oh, this is what we're, this isn't the goal, whatever. Just keep going. But that's these kind of comebacks. They've had a couple of them now, and it's like that's what you want to see is like a team that doesn't really give up and just kind of folds under their thing. I know the Iowa State version's been a little bit more of some ass kickings, but I mean, you've had some close games as well. So, yeah. But it's been kind of more the BTA is what people like to say now. I don't know, can you not say ass anymore? Yeah. I guess it sounds cool. I don't know. But yeah, so it should be a fun January, February into March. So gotta start looking at I mean, there. I guess there was a potential of both teams being in St. Louis. So if that's the case, we're gonna have to take this show on the road.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that would be for sure. Have to do. Yeah, it's cool. It's just fun for obviously fans of basketball here in the region in the Midwest, and like you said, there is a little bit of the connection there between the two now. So, pretty interesting story. But we of course both do know that we're getting into the heart of conference season now. It's only going to get harder to keep doing this here out, day in and day out. But when your team has done something that's never happened in school history for both of them at this point, that's that you feel pretty good about where you're at here so far.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think anybody with the same mind is like, oh, they're not going to lose, but you still could enjoy it. That's it's like, man, of course I don't think this is going to last forever, but it's freaking fun while it is going on. Like, while it does last, I'm gonna enjoy every second of it.
Yeah, I it's an awkward situation for me as an Iowa State fan because Clones have a road trip to Allen Fieldhouse on Tuesday, and they're probably going to be a favorite, which I'm pretty sure has never happened in my lifetime. May not expect it to ever happen again, but that also makes you a little bit leery because you don't want to get ahead of yourself either, because you know how damn hard that is to win at that place. So let's hope that that doesn't bother them and they get it done, but it'll be fun to watch, that's for sure.
Well, and the trick too is like now you're the Super Bowl, if you will, or whatever, the big game. You can't even have a somewhat off night. You just got to be on all the time. So that's
yeah.
But I mean, we'll see. I think, of course, a couple losses are coming, but I could see definitely be a good March Madness time for both teams, I think.
Yeah, could be. All right, that's going to wind it down for us here this week. We appreciate you joining us. Again, stay locked in all those different channels, whether it be through the video aspect, to hear with the podcast, or on social media. That's SJ Munoz. I'm Chris Parks. Thanks for joining us for another week of Every Day We're Covering. We'll see you next time for some more covers.